Now, here's your host, Rob McConnell.
And welcome back, everyone. This is the X Zone. I am Rob McConnell. We're coming to you from our broadcast center and studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. If you'd like to send me an email, xzone@xzoneradiotv.com, on all social media sites, X Zone Radio TV. And if you're looking to find the X Zone TV channel on Simul TV, you need to go to www.simultv.com. My guest this hour, Exonation, is Joedy Cook. He is one of the most active Bigfoot researchers in the state of Ohio. Originally, he was a member of the Cincinnati UFO research group, A.S.K, but realized that his interests were more in the field of cryptozoology. Joedy has been studying the Bigfoot phenomenon since 1991 and is the author of several books. He founded the Cryptid Seekers, the Ohio Center for Bigfoot Studies, and the North American Dogman project. He is also the founder of Cryptid Seekers Magazine and is a member of the American Bigfoot Society. Joedy has appeared on several television programs which discuss large primates in North America, including History Channel's Monster Quest, SyFy Channel's Sightings and Encounters, and the Learning Channel's Top 10 Mysteries of the World. Destination America's Monsters and Mysteries in America Ohio Grassman, Ohio. We're going to be talking to Joedy this hour about, amongst other things, the North American Dogman project. Their website is northamericandogmanproject.com. And Joedy, welcome to the X Zone.
Hi, how you doing?
I'm doing great. First of all, Joedy, what got you interested in cryptozoology?
Well, prior to getting into the cryptid stuff, I was a UFO investigator. Here in Cincinnati, we had a group called A.S.K, which was scientists, or Associates for Scientific Knowledge. And we had, this is when public access TV was on. This was before cable and all that stuff. So we did a live TV show the first Wednesday of every month. And we would, people would call in, tell their story. And then we started getting some cryptid stuff coming in, like the Loveland Frogman sightings, Bigfoot sightings, Dogman sightings. So I decided, along with George Clapperson, to go ahead and we'll look into the cryptid stuff. And it was amazing, just the amount of stuff that was going on in Ohio. And I just kind of fell in love with it and kind of got away from the UFO stuff and basically stayed with the cryptid stuff for the longest time. And that's how I got into it. And I mean, I love it. I actually had a Bigfoot sighting, myself, when I was in the Army, on a U.S. military base. There's 3 other guys with me, and, he was like 12 feet in front of us. We didn't even see him until he moved. And that kind of got me into it too. And then, I was a reservist at the time, but I was a deputy sheriff, and I was at a seminar, and I talked with some of the deputies from another state that were there, and they were telling me about the story of the land between the lakes, and kind of fell into that, and with all this stuff going on, it's just, I found it a lot more interesting than the UFO stuff, because UFO stuff is kind of boring because you're like sitting outside looking at the sky at night waiting for stuff to happen. And this was a little bit more interesting.
Tell me, what is a dogman?
A dogman, no one really quite knows what it is. Everybody who thinks of dogman or the phenomenon, they think of a werewolf because of the way the creature looks. Typical, like your typical Van Helsing style werewolf. It's a canine species that's capable of walking on 2 legs. So we don't quite know if it is an off-breed of a wolf or domestic dog, or if it's just something totally different, because how can I describe this? There's different descriptions of the creature. the legs on some of them are different. Some of legs are more like human. The feet are more like human. Then you have some that are more canine looking. You have some that are more bulky, like a Bigfoot, but with the snout. And then you have some that are just, has a snout with the high pointed ears, the canine legs, variations of the creature different each time. So is there more than one breed of the species? Yes. We think there's at least 4.
Is it possible that the Dogman is a love child of Sasquatch and a wolf?
No, they're definitely two different animals.
Okay.
I've heard that theory before, believe it or not, but I don't think it's it's a totally different species because if you look at Native American culture, you look at a lot of different cultures like in Europe, in early part of the American culture and Canadian culture. When the white man was coming over, that's when they were still getting a lot of sightings of this thing. So they don't know. Could it came from Europe? Could they brought it to Europe? Because the Chinese, believe it or not, they say they discovered America before the Vikings did.
Yeah.
And they said they brought Yerins with them, which were the Bigfoot. So anything's possible. Anything's possible.
How frequent are Dogman sightings in Ohio?
It's not just Ohio. I mean, it's all over. I mean, the North American Dogman Project, is all, it's all North America. We have chapters in Canada. We have chapters in Germany, the UK. We have about 25 chapters just here in the United States. We have a little over 350 members, and we're getting reports every day. Coming in. I mean, so it's just not just in Ohio, but in Ohio itself, it's pretty frequent. We're averaging about 2 a week just from Ohio.
What is the common connection between the sighting of a Dogman and the location of the sighting?
Well, the thing of it is, it's not like people think Bigfoot. They only see him like at night. The sightings when it comes to Dogman. It varies. The sightings amount during the day and then at night are about the same. It's about a 50-50. The same thing when it comes to the environment, when the environment changed from summer to winter. It's about the same. So the environment really has nothing to do with it. The season has nothing to do with it. They've been seen in domestic areas. Give an example, in Akron, Ohio, there's a metro park. And in that metro park, they've had sightings in there. They've even the rangers have seen them. And right across the street from the metro park is a condominium, and the people in the condominium have been seeing them come over and get dig into dumpsters and get the food out of the dumpsters. People have almost hit them crossing the road, so they know what's up there, but it hasn't bothered anyone. So they really haven't done anything, about it. It's a strange situation in some cases.
Are there photographs of the Dogman that have been caught by people with cell phones or surveillance videos?
Oh yeah. On our website, we have a few of them just on our front page. The Jedediah Redwood Forest is probably one of the best ones that we have, and it was a guy was out in the woods, just taking a stroll out there. He saw 2 other people off to his left, and then as he was going a little bit further, he heard a scream, and he came back over, and he didn't see the 2 other people that were there, but he saw this large canine standing there. And what he ended up doing was he had his cell phone, and he took the picture of it.
Right.
And so what we did was one of our state reps from California is on MUFON's STAR team. And she has all of her equipment where she can, look at a photograph and tell you everything about it. So she was able to get in hold of the witness, got a hold of his cell phone, took the original picture off, and we have the findings on there on our website. So what was ever there in that picture was definitely there because it was able to tell what type of phone he had, the distance, everything. So he definitely got something. And like I said, we have a picture of it on our website.
I've got to go for a break in about a minute from now, but quickly, is the scientific community getting behind the private researchers like yourself?
No. Honestly, they're more towards the Bigfoot stuff than they are towards the Dogman.
All right, we'll be back on the other side of this commercial break with our guest this hour, Exonation, Joedy Cook. If you'd like to find out more about the North American Dogman Project, the website is www.northamericandogmanproject.com, and we'll be back on the other side of this break as we continue here in the X Zone, around the world on the Talkstar Radio Network, Mutual Broadcast Network, Simul Radio, Simul TV, X Zone Broadcast Network, and iHeartRadio on the other side. Don't go away. Welcome back, everyone. Joedy Cook is our special guest. His website is NorthAmericanDogmanProject.com. Any idea, how one would go about live catching a dogman to prove the existence and to find out under tight controlled conditions what or who or what it is?
The thing of it is, the Dogman, he's an apex predator. Okay, he's not going to be very easy to catch. The thing of it is, when it comes to Dogman, we know that like the U.S. Forestry Service has information on it. We know a lot of different states' DNR has information on it. I know they're looking for them. I've actually seen their people out in the field, looking for them, so they know it exists. I mean, they're monitoring our site, like our website. We can tell who comes on our site. Mm-hmm. It tells us exactly. I mean, we've had, the Department of Agriculture on our site quite a few times, and they're the ones that run U.S. Forestry Service. We've had the Ohio DNR. We had Kentucky DNR. Wisconsin, Michigan has been on there. Pennsylvania's DNR been on our site looking at it. We average about 25,000 hits a month, just on our site. And I mean, a lot of media outlets have been looking on our site. So they're monitoring what we're doing, and we're monitoring what they're doing. I would not suggest to go out and try and catch one, to be honest with you. Because I've talked to people that have shot this thing point blank and has done nothing. We even had the DEA SWAT team ran into a group of these in Louisiana, and they gave us their story. And, these guys were even terrified to go up, against these things. I've talked to numerous counts of police officers that have been in contact with these things. The law enforcement in America has a code name for Dogman, and they call it the black dog. And for Bigfoot, they call it the black cow. So that's their code name for these things. So if they see one, when they give the information over the radio, they'll say black dog or black cow. So the media doesn't pick it up and catch it.
But let me ask you something. If this is such a popular event with multiple sightings, everybody apparently knowing it is there, including law enforcement, the DEA. Why don't we hear anything about it in the media?
the media's not going to talk about it.
Why not?
They'll talk about Bigfoot if it's something that happens.
Uh-huh.
There's been just a few stories that came out. One in Mississippi came out. There was one that was in Louisiana that came out a couple of years ago. It's just something that they don't want to touch. It's for some reason it seems like it's taboo to them. We even reached out to the media, and they don't want to touch it. I don't know what it is, with this, because it's a new cryptid. It's something that's always been here, but it's getting more and more popular with people. But the media just hasn't really picked up on it yet.
Is it possible that the reason it's becoming more popular with people is that it's losing its homeland because of urban development?
Same thing with Bigfoot. It's a money issue. When it comes to something like this, give an example. The land between the lakes in Kentucky. There's some stories that came out of there. Give you an example on one. We did a documentary on LBL, and we had a guy come forward that was retired Kentucky Fish and Game, and we talked to him, verified his employment there, everything. The guy retired. He gave a deathbed confession. He was dying of cancer. In 1979, he was fishing down there. He was still a member of the Kentucky Fish and Game. In 1979, he was fishing about 4:30 in the morning. About 7:30 in the morning, he's decided to go back, come back in. So he's going along the shoreline, and he gets up to one point, and he sees a tent, and he sees a pickup truck, and where people are camping there. And then a little bit over, he sees something that he thought was a horse. He said there was a fog, and this was like in October. So there was a fog there, and he thought it was a horse. And then he said this thing stood up on two legs. And as he's getting closer, he's able to see what it looks like, and he describes it, as a muscular body, like a dog. The arms were like a human. He said the head and the snout was like a hyena. It had high pointed ears. He said it had like a mange, like a lion almost on it. And he said at the time, two people are coming out of the tent, and he's yelling at the people to look over there at this thing, and they're looking at him and waving, thinking they're trying to talk to him. And he said this thing pounced him, and he said he watched this thing kill two people.
Okay, now hold on here. I'm an ex-cop, you're an ex-cop, right?
Right.
Would there not be a report that goes along with this somewhere?
No.
Why not? Why not? Come on.
Well, I'm going to tell you, look, it's a money issue with the park. If you have a park, a national park, and there's a monster running around in the park killing people, people aren't going to come there.
But what about
that's losing revenue.
What about the two people who were murdered, allegedly murdered, because there's no proof that a murder actually took place?
Correct.
But what about if they were murdered? What about the members of their family? What do you say? They just drowned when they went camping?
Well, you don't know. See, the thing of it is, he didn't work at LBL, but he worked for the state, wildlife. And he checked. He checked to find out if there was if it came under a bear attack, or if it came under whatever. And he said to people, he talked to people, nothing. No one knew anything about a death there. He said that campsite was completely cleaned up, so that he knows somebody knew what was going on, because the campsite was cleaned up, and they sat there and put trees up in the area where the campsite was on the shoreline. They totally just made it look completely different from what it was. And there's another story about a whole family.
Well, can we just go back to this story for a second? Did anybody who's investigating the allegations, did anybody check the missing persons to see if anything fit in that time frame in that area with local law enforcement or state law enforcement?
Oh yeah, we did.
And?
We went back to archives and looked into in the archives and newspapers.
Yeah.
Death certificates. We found nothing that took place in 1979 in that area, in that park.
Is it possible that the witness was mistaken?
Oh no.
Why not?
I don't believe he was mistaken, because he stated, he goes, everybody who worked for the Fish and Game knew what was going on in that park. They knew there was an animal in that park.
So what were the comments from Fish and Game to these allegations?
Fish and Games, they said, yeah, the guy worked there, but they said they have no idea anything took place. He said he didn't report anything. And then when we asked the guy, I said, I specifically asked him, why didn't you report this? And he sat there and said, you don't do that, because you don't. He said, I would have lost my job, or they could have killed me off. It could have been anything. He said, I had 100 things going through my mind, and he said, I did check into it. I did look and see if there's somebody, if anything happened with the death in that park. I asked around, I talked, and he said nothing came up, and he said he kept this for all these years. And then when he was dying of cancer, he didn't want to go to heaven, with this burden on him. So he wanted to tell someone, but like you said, we verified the guy's employment through his W-2s, through, pay stubs, through his retirement information. We know he did work there. We have verification.
So he was witness
to... We can't verify the story.
Right. So he allegedly is a witness to a homicide, and he wants to give a deathbed confession because he wants to go to heaven. Does that make sense to you? It doesn't make sense to me.
It doesn't. But, things have stranger things have happened. But, when it comes to, it's like this, okay? There's another story that came out of LBL where this whole family got massacred by the creature. Okay, I talked to about 7 different Kentucky police officers who stated that they were there when that incident happened on the cleanup, and that it happened. They all took me to the same location, and this is through a span of from 1987 to just last year, talking to 7 different people, going to that park, and every single one of them took me to the same location where it allegedly happened. But if they're not willing to come on camera and tell their story, it doesn't mean anything to me.
That's right.
Part of the other problem is when you look in the field of cryptozoology, ufology, the paranormal, human testimony doesn't mean crap. Okay, human testimony is only good enough to put somebody in prison, or put them to, on death row. There's more people sitting in prison right now because of circumstantial evidence than there is, actual, proof.
All right, stand by. We've got to take our break. We'll be back on the other side of the news as we continue here in the X Zone from our broadcast center and studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. The current edition of the X Chronicles newspaper is still available online with our compliments at www.xchroniclesnewspaper.com. And for all the listings on the X Zone TV channel, visit SimulTV at www.simultv.com. Exonation, Joedy Cook is our guest, www.northamericandogmanproject.com. Joedy, it concerns me that if these allegations are true, that people who are entrusted to serve and protect are lying through their teeth, and they're turning a blind eye to injustices just to protect their own asses.
I talked to a ranger up in Vancouver that worked for a national park up there, and he told me, they know they're in the park where he's at. They know they have killed people in that park. He knows there's teams that come in and cleans the area up. He says we have AR-15s that we keep in our, our little cabin where we stay at. And we're there most of the time. It's just one of us. And he goes, we don't go out. We don't go out, unless we have one of these weapons with us. But I mean, that's, it's just not here in the United States. It's in Canada too. Where we're talking to people who work at these parks and say, yeah, they've killed people up there. They know they've had teams come in and clean the area up, and no one ever hears about it. When it comes to a dogman attack or killing, it could be easily played off as a bear attack, right? Because the tracks are somewhat similar. The scratch marks, the bite marks are probably similar, so they can easily say it was a bear attack, and that was, and people are going to buy it.
Right, but are they saying that, or are they just neglecting to say anything at all, like the 5 police officers who brought you to a scene, or 7 police officers that brought you to a scene? The game warden who allegedly saw this creature kill 2 people, and he did nothing about it. Something does not ring right with these kind of stories.
It doesn't, and that's the thing. You can only take what they're telling you. In this field, just like any other field, you have to have facts. Okay, you have to have facts on everything. When people tell you a story or tell you about a sighting, you take the information down. And that's the only thing you can do. There's no facts checking on a lot of the stuff that you get, even though if it's from military, if it's from law enforcement, or somebody's grandmother. You just can't fact check it.
So if it can't be fact checked, why put it up anywhere and let the public see it if it's not fact checked?
It's not that you're giving out information. You're giving out a story. Okay, it's like giving 411. The guy Pilates that writes the 411. A lot of his stuff. People think, when you read the book, all these sightings are because of, Bigfoot, UFOs, Dogman or whatever. And they read into it. And in reality, it has nothing to do with any of those, because all what he's doing is taking where all these sightings are taking place, and he's taking missing people and see, are they matched in that area? So that's what he's using for a facts check. But in our field, we can't do that. It's just a story that comes in, someone gives a report, and you put it out. You let the people decide if they think it's real or not.
But if you're disseminating information, the responsibility is to you as a person who is posting it to make sure that it's been authenticated to the best of your ability before you put it up.
Well, some of the stuff is. We do that with a lot of the stuff, but like I said, when someone gives a story, right, sends us a story, what we do, we go on our site, we put it in, in our little area on our map, saying this particular area, this is a sighting, and this is their story in this area. Okay, it's for the people to read, it's for the people to decide. It's a whole thing. I mean, if you're getting information, okay, and you're not going to release it because you can't do facts check on it, right? I mean, what's the point of doing it? Well, what's the point of doing it?
The point is,
I understand what you're trying to say, but but the thing is, what you're trying to make it sound like is that we're misleading people, or we're trying to put people off, on something, and that's not what it is. I mean, MUFON does it. Every organization.
I agree. I agree, and this is one of my biggest bones of contention when it comes to anything within the paranormal. There are so many people who think that if they see it on the internet, it has to be true.
No, it's not. I don't believe crap that's on Facebook or anything like that. Because the problem is with a lot of this stuff, it's so hard to fact check. But when you're getting information, all you're doing is taking that information, you're putting it on, on a piece of paper, and you're seeing if it coincides with anything else in the area, right, if there's a pattern, and that's how you do it. And then you put the information out to the people, and you let the people to be the judge and decide.
All right, in the postings that your organization does. For example, the story of the game warden, where he makes allegations that he saw this creature kill 2 people, or where the 7 police officers brought you to an alleged crime scene. Is this information put out to the public?
Oh yeah. I mean, we put it in a documentary and we talked about it, but we were being objective about it. We're not saying, people, this is 100% fact. We're believing everything that we're told, because we are not the only researcher out there in the field of Dogman that's dealing with this thing. Are dealing with people coming in and telling stories. There's with law enforcement coming to them too about a story. We just we can't verify it. But the thing of it is, you're just putting the information out, and you're letting the people be the judge. You're letting them decide, if they want to sit there and believe it or not. And we sit there and we tell them, this is not our opinion. This is just information that was given to us, and we're sharing it.
All right.
It's up to you to decide if you think it's real.
What do we know about the lifestyle or the habitation or the what do we know about the Dogman?
The thing that most people who research it, what we find out, we know it's an apex predator. When we say apex predator, not just because it attacks people, because it attacks the animals too. Here in Ohio, there's an area called Germantown, and they have a legend up there they call the Germantown werewolf, which is this creature here. And prior to that, it was called the Butter Street Monster, and this was back in the 70s. Well, we talked with a lot of the farmers who said, they've seen this thing. It ran off with chickens. It ran off with, whatever animal that were there they had. I mean, we found cows out in areas that they shouldn't have been in that were, killed and eaten on. In one particular area, these cows, where they were, could not have got there because there's a small river that they would have to go down a 7-foot embankment, go across 4 feet of water, and then go up another 7 feet to get there. Totally impossible for a cow to do. So something had to get these cows and these dogs and these deers and these other animals that were in this area, that this feeding area, to that area. Now we've got tracks that we've got out of there, very big tracks, beautiful tracks that we've gotten out of there. And the police department in the area, they built a facility right there smack dab in the middle of the woods, and they got cameras all over the place monitoring this area. And they have signs letting you know this is a controlled area.
And what have the police found out through their investigation into this phenomenon?
The police said, well, it's a training facility. No, it's not a training facility, because if it was a training facility, it would be set up like a training facility. It's 2 buildings that look out to where it's high enough where they're able to look out, out a surrounding area. And they have cameras that are set up all over the area up there. It's just a bunch of bull with them saying it's a training area. They're there. I mean, there's just no way you would do a training area in this particular area, for a department of only 6 people. So, like I said, we've got tracks out of this area. We got pictures, of very large dogs that were killed. I'm a hunter. I'm sure you're a hunter.
Nope.
You're okay. But have you ever seen a poached deer before, where someone poached a deer?
Nope.
Okay. Well, when people poach a deer, it's a particular way they do it. Okay, but we're finding deers where the hides have been tore all the way from the back, going all the way over the head, and then you can see where it's been eaten on. A poacher, you can tell where it's been cut and shaved and all that other stuff. These things were just, I've never seen anything the way it was done, to these deers. And the dogs that we're finding are the same way, where the hides were ripped from the complete back of the dog completely over the head. And it's the same thing with the cows. So there's something doing this, and the police, the Jefferson Township Police Department, they know what's there. Otherwise, they wouldn't be up there. And these animals could not have gotten to this area. It's hard. I spent 20 years in the Army, and I'm a combat veteran. I was in Iraq, and it was hard for me to get down there and go across the river and climb up there, let alone a cow. But something was able to get them over there.
All right, stand by. We've got to take our final break. Exonation Joedy Cook is our guest this hour. The website is www.exonation.com. North American Dogman Project. That's www.northamericandogmanproject.com. And we'll be back as we wrap up this hour here in the X Zone from our broadcast center in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. Don't forget, if you'd like to buy any of the great merchandise we have for sale at the X Zone store, www.thexzonestore.com. I'm Rob McConnell. This is the X Zone. We'll be back. Don't go away. Welcome back, everyone. Joedy Cook is our special guest to this hour. And Joedy is one of the most active Bigfoot researchers in the state of Ohio. Originally, he was a member of the Cincinnati UFO research group, A.S.K., but realized that his interests were more in the field of cryptozoology. Joedy has been studying the Bigfoot phenomenon since 1991 and is the author of several books. He founded the Cryptid Seekers, the Ohio Center for Bigfoot Studies, and the North American Dogman Project. He is also the founder of Cryptid Seekers Magazine. And Joedy, before we went to the commercial break, you were telling us about some of the animals that had been found, and you were telling us how the fur had been separated from the skin, going from the back to the front. Were these remains sent to a veterinarian pathology center to get an opinion as to what the cause of death was?
We took pictures of, like you said, when we're on the phone, we took pictures of everything.
Right.
Okay, and we actually, contacted the police. Okay, right. That was the first thing we did to get their response. They said, "Oh, it's poaching," and no, I've seen poached. Poached animals before. One of the guys on the team, he's an avid hunter, okay, and he's seen poaching and stuff. And there's a particular, when someone poaches a deer, they get in there quick and they get out.
Right.
There's one particular thing that they're getting, and you can normally tell. And this isn't. We did take it to a veterinarian and had a veterinarian look at it. And from the pictures, they really couldn't tell what could have done it. Only thing they could say, it's unusual the way, the hide's being torn from the back all the way up to cover where it's covering the head of the animal, and that's it. But they can't determine, from a picture what did it. You can see where it was eaten on,
right? And
all they can say, predators could have been coyotes. It could have been cougars. We got cougar in Ohio. We got coyotes. We got coy dogs.
Right.
It could have been that, which it very well could have been. But what we're going by is, we're finding evidence of something taking place. There's a legend in the area. We have witnesses that have seen it. We're finding tracks, very large tracks. Like one particular, we have a picture on our site of one of the tracks that we got out of Germantown. And we made a cast of it, and we have it next to a 250-pound black bear cast. And this thing dwarfs a 250-pound black bear cast footprint. And this is one that came out of Germantown. 4 toes. It looked like a bear. Honest to God, it looks like a bear. And I even showed my game warden, that lives in, my area here. And I talk to him all the time trying to get information, but he laughs about it. He won't tell nobody. But, he said, it looks like a bear, but one thing he did say that if that was a bear, you're looking at a 600 to 700 pound bear. You're looking at something the size of a grizzly bear. The largest black bear that came out of Ohio was just under 300 pounds.
Okay,
was the largest one they got on record.
All right, so
okay?
let me just give you this example. You and other researchers say that there is a Bigfoot. Nobody has seen Bigfoot. Or many people have never seen a Bigfoot. There are those who claim to have had the experience. So what is it possible that there is another animal out there that could be responsible for this, that it has nothing to do with a dogman?
You mean like a domestic animal?
A domestic animal, or an animal like Bigfoot that has not been discovered as of yet.
Oh, anything's possible. And I'm very open-minded to that. We live in a very, very strange world where we're finding new species every day.
Yeah.
Could Bigfoot do so? Bigfoot could do this. I mean, we got tons of Bigfoot sightings in Ohio. It could be another type of predator that's out there that no one knows about, no one was able to see. Anything's possible. Anything is possible. For all we know, that Dogman, I mean, he could be a gentle as a domestic dog, and he's getting a bad rap because there's another predator out there doing it. That's similar looking to what he is. So I mean, we just don't know.
Has there been any communication made with a Dogman?
Communication as far as talking or
communication, contact? talking verbally, hand signals, telepathically, any kind of way.
There's a couple stories that we've got where people have claimed that they were talking to them through their mind. We actually had one where this young woman said it was speaking like broken English to them. The thing about Dogman, which was just really interesting, is not only is community really excited and really into this. MUFON is very much into the Dogman phenomenon. They actually think that it could be some type of alien species.
Well, MUFON also believes that Malaysian Airlines Flight 370 was abducted by a UFO, and that's why it's never been found. So when it comes to credibility, MUFON and the majority of people...
Well, CNN even said it, so...
Well, hey, CNN, there you go.
It's got to be legitimate.
Oh, yeah, right.
If CNN said it, it's got to be legitimate.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And I understand that, conspiracy theories, they fly big on everything. I mean, I talked to prior military people who have told me, that they know for a fact that there is an alien species out there that is canine, and we have been in contact with them.
Now, are we talking alien from another country, not indigenous to the United States, or are we talking from outer space?
From outer space, from another dimension, another galaxy. Oh, yeah. I talked with a guy who's former special operations, and he told me this story that they had a group of them, and they were so dangerous that they would not even keep them in the United States. They kept them in a facility in South America.
Wow.
And they were able to get out of this facility. They killed the people in the facility. They had to go and respond to clean it up. And he said these things, they were wolves, but they had like human bodies, but they wore like a type of like an armor. But he said they were extremely intelligent, but they had no common sense. They weren't problem solvers when it came to things, but they were able to kill them, and clean the area up. Now, and that was one story. Another story was from a Afghanistan vet that was in Kandahar Valley, and they were on patrol, and they were looking for the insurgents, and they broke off into 2-man teams. And he said they came upon, 2 of them that killed 3 insurgents, and they saw them actually kill one of them, because one of the insurgents, or 2 of the insurgents, were already dead, but the one wasn't. And what made these cases very similar, the first, when I told the first story plenty of times, mm-hmm. I never told about the story where the guy told me that they had a sword that they had, like attached to their back. And the sword was what they call like a pharaoh sword, which is kind of like a sickle, which is very, what they used like in Egypt. Okay. And the soldier in Afghanistan said that they had that weapon, and that's what they used to kill this one insurgent with. But they also had like some type of rifle with them. And they saw them do it. And, is the story legitimate? I don't know. I mean, these 2 military people, they tell you the story. You hope, that your brothers are telling you the truth, but there's what it is.
And there's no pictures to corroborate these claims.
No, there's no evidence. There's no circumstantial evidence other than word of mouth that these particular cases happen.
Okay, quickly,
I've not even posted those on our Facebook, our website, because they're just so far out there.
Okay, I've got about 30 seconds, and I'd just like you to respond to this. Upright dogs that were seen on the Skinwalker Ranch wearing trench coats and smoking cigarettes.
You know what? I think the Skinwalker Ranch is a bunch of malarkey, and I don't even fool with it. I don't think there's anything there. I think it's just a rich guy, Bigelow. He's pouring money into that place, mm-hmm. and they're getting as far as I know, they're getting nothing out of it. They're not letting anybody go on there and look. MUFON Star Team's the only people allowed on that property, other than Bigelow's, quick response team that he has, and that's it. So I don't worry about it. I think it's a bunch of bull.
Hey, Joedy, great talking to you. Thanks very much for joining us tonight. And Exonation, if you'd like more information about the North American Dogman project, visit Let's try that again. Thanks, Craig. www.northamericandogmanproject.com. I'll be back on the other side of this commercial break with the news at 6.5 minutes past the top of the hour as the X-Zone continues with yours truly, Rob McConnell, from our broadcast center and studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. I'll be back. Don't go away.